All right, Tanya Summary Shiur for week 17, and we're doing chapter 37b, the second part of chapter 37. We started it last week, but it was a very long chapter, so in this past week we finished the whole chapter. And without any further ado, let's get into it. So, the beginning of chapter 37 discusses the idea, or mentions the idea, of that when we do mitzvahs, we refine this world, and we also refine the human vitality that we possess. So in the second part of chapter 37, the Alter Rebbe elaborates on these themes and he connects them. So he says that when you have a person that with their human vitality, they invest themselves, which means that they invest their human vitality in learning Torah or in davening or in physical mitzvahs that we do. So whatever it is that causes human vitality to exist, we live because we have food and water and air and shelter and all of these things. So all of these things that go into us living as humans, everything becomes transformed from bad to good. It becomes included in holiness. When we refrain from doing averos, we cut off the klippos that try to receive nourishment from the world. We don't give them their chayas, and when we do mitzvahs, we take the positive thing. We are able to draw down godliness into this world, not just to cut off the klippos, but we're even able to bring godliness into this world. Ultimately, Mirat Hashem, with enough refining of the world, we'll be able to have a literal appreciation of godliness, as it says in the pasuk Ayin B'Ayin, like it says by Matan Torah. The Alter Rebbe explains that the reason why it isn't like that nowadays is because right now there's klipa in the world, and klipa receives vitality in the world through everything which is mutter, not particularly asur, but the existence of things which are maybe not exactly godliness. Things which aren't bad unto themselves, but things which aren't utilized for godliness, things that don't express godliness in and of itself. It allows for the existence of klipa. It allows for the existence of things which cover over godliness, because something that isn't expressing godliness isn't expressing godliness, quite by definition, definitively. The Alter Rebbe explains that neshamas come down to this world, to this end, to be able to refine the world, because the neshama, as it exists itself, it had things much better up there, like the famous A.B. Rottenberg song, Neshamala, that the neshama is up there, it's enjoying the presence of Hashem, and the geschmack that it has, even from coming down here, and it's able to do mitzvahs, and it's a real connection to Hashem in a very strong way. It's doing something proactively, but it doesn't compare to the geschmack, to the pleasure that the neshama had up there. But ultimately, the neshama comes down so that it could refine the human vitality, so that it could refine the world. The Alter Rebbe says that with this we can understand and appreciate why Chazal said that tzedakah is so important in various places across the entire Torah that we have, lauding the advantages of tzedakah. So Alter Rebbe says, when you think about it from this point of view, tzedakah is actually one of the greatest mitzvahs that a person can do. Because what a person does when they give tzedakah is they work and they make money, and that money is able to support them. So you have the aspect that they worked, and that means that they poured in their effort. A person that makes $20 an hour means that $20 is an hour of their existence to them. And even a person that doesn't work so hard, a person that made their money the old-fashioned way through inheritance or something to that effect, even such a person, money is still worth something to them, because money is how they keep themselves alive. X amount of money is what causes them to live another day, and that's how much they spend for food, or that's how much they spend for shelter. Everything together means that there's a dollar amount for how much it is to them, and how much of their vitality money is. How much of their vitality money can buy in a certain sense. So the Alter Rebbe says, when a person gives tzedakah, what they're doing is they're taking a measurable amount of their vitality and they're doing a mitzvah with it. The Alter Rebbe says that this is refining so much, everything that went into making that money, and their own existence, everything that goes into them gets elevated and refined when a person gives tzedakah. The Alter Rebbe says that this is the reason why Chazal said that tzedakah is great because it brings the geula closer, because a person can give tzedakah. This is one of the most efficient ways of refining the world. Then the Alter Rebbe says that we need to understand, in a certain sense, where Torah falls into this, because we know Torah is also one of the greatest mitzvahs. The Chachamim said, Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, Galu Talmud Hamevli De Maisa. So we know that there's a lot of good things about Torah, and very often we think of Torah being the ultimate mitzvah. So the Alter Rebbe says Torah Taka has its place. That Torah is, in a sense, the ultimate way of connecting to Hashem as a person. That the neshama really benefits from learning Torah, and the human intellect is able to become entwined with godliness, as we elaborated on in chapter 5. But ultimately, Torah doesn't refine a person, refine the world in the same way. It doesn't take the world, it doesn't take the human experience and make that into godliness. Torah exists almost in two forms, if you will. It exists as a mitzvah, like any other mitzvah, wherein a person moves their lips. This is getting more into chapter 38. But a person moves their lips and they fulfill the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. But the thing that we very often praise Torah for, the great advantage of Torah, is what it's able to accomplish in the human intellect. And for that, Torah is taka at the top of its game. It beats every other mitzvah and how important and how chashuv it is. And it's really like no other mitzvah. But at the same time, that very same advantage, the thing that makes it so lofty, means it doesn't come down into the world to such a low place. It's not able to pick up everything that's low. It's not able to refine everything in that way. Taka, the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, the mitzvah, has that advantage that every mitzvah has in that you're refining the world. There's an idea that goes around of when a person speaks the words of Torah in the street, they're purifying the air because you're taking in air and you're giving out air with words of Torah. But ultimately, the thing that we praise in Limud Torah, that itself, the thing which is so outstanding about it, that in itself is so lofty that it doesn't refine the world in the way that other mitzvahs, and particularly tzedakah, can accomplish. To finish off, the Alter Rebbe says that a good way of understanding this advantage that we have in Torah, and maybe how it could contrast to what we were saying before, is that we say that when a person learns Torah, they're being Kriya Torah, Kriyas Torah. We use the lashon of Kriya, which literally means to call. So the Alter Rebbe says it's because when a person learns Torah, what they're doing is they're reaching out to Hashem. They're reaching upwards, which is a very lofty thing. But at the same time, it's more about connecting above than it is about drawing down below. So Torah has that very great advantage, which we're going to continue to explore, and we're going to explore all of these themes in Eretz Hashem next week. But at the same time, Torah is just too lofty to be able to refine the world in the way that physical mitzvahs can, and this is the great advantage of tzedakah. And that's the conclusion of chapter 37, and as I mentioned before, in Eretz Hashem next week, I should say this week, we're going to be discussing these matters further. We're going to be discussing the great advantages that there are in physical mitzvahs, and how this comes into play on many different planes of existence, of consciousness, etc. Looking forward, Eretz Hashem.